Welcome to the Sanctuary Sunday School. I'm Valante, and I am so glad that you are here with me this week. Our subject is Parable of the Unforgiving Servant, and we can find that text in the book of St. Matthew in the 18th chapter. Now, here in this lesson, in this chapter, Jesus is really preaching and he's teaching his disciples and he's telling them what to do and he's instructing them because he knows that they are going to have to function when he leaves them. So he's teaching them. And we're at the point in the chapter where Peter asked him a question. He said, how many times am I supposed to forgive my brother? 7 times? Now, to say that I'm going to forgive someone 7 times is a lot because, like in baseball, we say, look, 3 strikes, you're out. So after that 3rd time, it's time for me to exact some type of revenge or you're going to suffer the consequences for what you did. So to say 7 times is a lot. That's really being nice to someone. But Jesus answered Peter. He said, not 7 times. 7 times is nothing. You're going to forgive 70 times 7. And when we look at that, of course, 70 times 7 is 490. But it's not that we're going to sit there and actually count to 490 times, keeping tabs on when we forgive somebody. What the indication in that verse is that forgiveness is unlimited. Because when you love someone, then you will forgive, and you don't keep tabs on what you do for someone when you love them. And forgiveness is based in love. And when you look at forgiveness is the very foundation of Christianity. Stop and think about it for a minute. Where would we be if God had not forgiven us? No one is entitled to salvation. None of us have earned the right of salvation. It is a gift that God gave to us freely. God loved us so much that he sent his only begotten son to die for us that we could live and that we could live life more abundantly. That is what Christianity is. It is the forgiveness of sin by God, and it is Jesus taking the punishment for us. So inasmuch that God has forgiven us, we are commanded to forgive each other. So when Jesus told him about this 70 times 7, he continued with a parable about the unforgiving servant. Now, this servant owed 10,000 talents. That is quite a bit of money. And when you look at that amount of money, think about your own debt or my own debt, or when you see people in debt, we make unwise decisions to amass that amount of debt. Then somewhere down the line, you were not managing your money correctly. You were not doing what you were supposed to do. You weren't handling your business. You just kind of let things spiral out of control. So the penalty for that, like we said a couple weeks ago, they would take your property, sometimes your family as slaves. So the master was going to take his wife and his children because he had this debt. And this servant, he was begging. And the scripture says he was worshiping and he was begging and bowing down to save his family. And the master had mercy on him and forgave the debt. Not a payment plan. Not, I'll take your wife a little while, take your kid a little while, not giving back to you. No, he forgave the debt and let this servant off scot-free. He did not have to pay anything. He was able to have a fresh start and go on his way, just like the Lord has done for us. But there came along someone who owed this servant money, and the servant would not forgive the debt. And the text says he laid his hands on him, he grabbed him, and he had him thrown in jail because of this debt. And there were other servants there who saw this, and they were alarmed by it, saying, wait a minute. This is the man who owed the master $10,000, and now he's not forgiving his debt, and he's putting this man in jail. So they told the master, and the master was infuriated. And he took back his forgiveness and he put this man in jail for what he did and for not forgiving the other servant. And this is such a powerful lesson to us. We don't want to go through life keeping track of everything that someone owes us, everything that someone has done wrong to us, feeling like you owe me this, you ruined my life, you made me lose my job, you made me lose this. No, we have got to let some of these things go. One time my father preached a sermon. He said, you just got to get over it. Because if you don't get over it, you're never going to have any happiness, any joy, or any salvation, because that is the power. The power of salvation gives you a heart of love and forgiveness. And see, you don't forgive people because they deserve it. You forgive people because God told you to. You forgive people because God forgave you. And when you can forgive, you release all of that. You release the pain, you release the debt, you release the turmoil, and you open up room in your heart for the Lord to come in and heal you and deliver you and to give you what you need and to take care of you. See, if this servant had had a forgiving heart, he could have gone on walking into his liberty because he was already forgiven. But when he was not forgiven, he forfeited his forgiveness, and we don't want to do that. Every time someone does something to you, and trust me, I know people can do some really foul things, and it can hurt, it can make you angry, and it can be very difficult to forgive. But when you find yourself in that place, just think about what God did for you. And just think about the forgiveness of God and how God has blessed you. And I guarantee you, I say this all the time, God has been better to me. He's given me more. He's done more for me. He's been better to me than anyone has ever done me wrong. So when I weigh God's justice and I weigh what God has given me, it's no comparison. God's grace is all the way up here. And what the people have done to me or taken from me or done me wrong doesn't even matter. It's not even a factor because I'm walking in God's grace. I'm walking in God's forgiveness. I'm walking in God's mercy. And that's something that we need to know. God commands us to forgive. It is a critical part of our very salvation. I can't say I love the Lord and I can't forgive you. And this is a lesson that I think we should have like every month, once a month, because in this world that we live in today, especially now, we're seeing so many injustices, even in workplaces and in government, all of these things, and in church, even in places where it should be or places where it should not be going on, we're seeing it. So that power to forgive, it just unlocks the power of God in your life, and it takes you to the next level, and it allows you to walk through this world and all of the evil that is here and remain joyful and remain happy and remain peaceful. So I just encourage you today to just embrace God, embrace the love of God, walk in the forgiveness that God has given you, and spread the love of God to everybody you come in contact with. Always forgive.